Hi everybody, Meg Young here, back for another Friday. It's been another week of doing these videos for tips and tools for you to feel more confident and in control during this time. We are all having a very difficult time with this, and each state is dealing with it differently. Closing things down, opening things up, what's the right thing to do? How many people have to die? How many people have to get the illness? How many people have to really struggle with this? I have to say I'm really glad that I am not in a key position right now. I'm not a mayor, I'm not a school principal, I'm not a governor, I'm not a president. It can't be easy for anybody in authority right now to say, where's our balance of opening up the economy again? But anyway, that aside, I wanted to touch base with you today about one more tip, one more tool about maintaining your own control during this time. One thing that's super, super important that I'm talking about today is taking things one step at a time, doing one thing at a time. Don't take on too much. I've given you guys 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 weeks. I've given you guys 5 weeks of tips and tools. If you take on all of these tips and tools all the time and trying to do every single one of them every single day, you're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to have a really difficult time with it. If you try and take on too many tasks at work, you're going to be overwhelmed with it. We don't do well when we multitask too much. There's actually been studies that show we don't do well multitasking at all. I know that people can argue that very easily, but there have been a lot of studies on that as well. So that aside, when you have too much going on and you're trying to think about making dinner and you're trying to think about doing the laundry and you're trying to think about getting back online for that session and you're trying to think about getting your kid on the computer for school and you're trying to think about this housework that needs to get done and your focus isn't on one thing, what you're doing is not going to be done well. You know that old saying, a stitch in time saves 9? I don't know how many of you have heard that or not, but basically when you take your time and you're patient with something, you don't have to go back and redo it. So if you're focused on life, very same tool is important. When you're focused on what you're doing and you're doing one thing at a time, you are much more likely to not make a mistake and have to go back. Or maybe not even make a mistake, but forget something and have to go back and do it again, thus causing you more stress and thus making you have to spend more time on stuff. So today I wanted you to think about that. Where can you decrease multitasking so that you're able to do one thing at a time? Where can you decrease that? Notice when you do that it might feel a little tough at first. Notice that when you're starting to say, never mind, let me not focus on these other things, that these other things are going to be continuously coming up saying, don't forget about, don't forget about, don't forget about. Write it down. Before you start your day, write down what you need to do. Write down your task list. When you write down your task list, everything else, all that other stuff, isn't going to come back to the same level, but it might still come back a little bit. But it's not going to come back to the same level because your brain is going to say, I'm not going to forget it. It's already written down. Whereas if you keep everything in your head, it's much easier for you to forget something. So your brain is going to say, think about this, think about this, think about this, don't forget this. So I want you to take this week and this weekend, and I don't know if you're working this weekend or not, but it doesn't really matter. It's just that it's Friday and then Saturday and Sunday. But I want you to take this week and this weekend to say, where can I minimize multitasking? Writing things down that have to be done so that I don't have to focus on them. And I can focus on one thing at a time. Drop me a line and let me know how you did with that. What worked for you? and what didn't work for you. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you on Monday.